Hello all, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will see how to create a Jenkins declarative pipeline. In my previous video, we have already discussed about scripted pipeline. So if you have not watched it, please go and watch it so you will get to know how to install pipeline plugins and some basic ideas. So let's start on Jenkins declarative pipeline. So first thing what I will do, I'll create a empty pipeline job. So I'll keep name as a declarative pipeline and item type I'll choose as a pipeline. Now we are not going to choose any properties here because we will add these things in the Jenkins file itself. So in pipeline we have a two option, pipeline script and pipeline script from SCM. So in pipeline script we can write the script here directly, and in the pipeline script from SCM we can check in our Jenkins file. We can push our Jenkins file to GitHub or any of the source control and we will fetch it from there. So I'm choosing pipeline script from source control and I'll save it. Now before creating a declarative pipeline, what we need a Jenkins file. So I have already created a Jenkins file here. I will explain you what I'm doing. So as we know, in declarative pipeline we have a predefined structure, or we call a user defined structure, which we have to follow. So the root element is a pipeline basically. So what is pipeline here? So this is basically a user defined block which contain all the process such as build, test and etc. So it is a group of basically all the stages in a Jenkins file. So all the stages and steps are defined in this block. So it is basically used in declarative syntax, pipeline syntax. This block cannot use in scripted pipeline block. So under this pipeline block, if I click here, you can see it's a complete block. Whatever we are doing, we are going inside this block in only. So under pipeline block, we have an agent. So agent basically is typically a machine or a container which connect to a Jenkins controller and execute the task which is directed by the what we call Jenkins controller. Next we have options. So in scripted pipeline, as we discussed, we use properties, but in declarative pipeline we have to choose options. So option is nothing, it's the same thing. If I go back to my Jenkins shop and I click on configure, so these are the options which we can specify here. So if I'll go back to my Visual Studio code editor, so you can see I have choose one option here, build discarder and log rotator numbers to keep string 10. So I want to keep 10 number of builds record here. So like this you can specify the properties which we have here. Next we have parameters. So parameters, again it's a runtime value which we have to specify, so you can override when you execute the Jenkins job. Next important thing, we have environment. So it's a global variable which contain the key value pair. If you remember in scripted pipeline we discussed, we use environment as a with environment, but in declarative pipeline we have to use environment. So here what I'm doing, I'm using the n access key. This is the variable I have specified and I'm storing the value of credential. So in the scripted pipeline we use with credential to bind the credential. So here we use credential helper. So here what I have done, this is the credential ID. So if I'll go back to my Jenkins, manage Jenkins, if I'll go to my credential manager, so this is the DB credential ID which I'm basically using. So it contains the username and password. So if I'll go back to my Visual Studio Code editor, so this is the ID I have specified here. But here what is important, when we use this credential ID, like we have stored this value under this particular variable and access key. When we have to fetch the value from this credential ID, we have to append underscore user and underscore password. So this basically we have to append, so it will fetch the value from the environment variable. Next we have stages. So stages, we can have n number of stages. So I'm having two stages. One is category name, another stage we have employee first name. So again, I am here running the PowerShell script under this step. So basically I'm invoking a SQL command on the particular database, and I'm fetching some data from the tables. So this part I have already discussed in my scripted pipeline demo video. So if you want more explanation, you can go and watch there. So I'm not going detail about these steps basically. So that's how basically we write the pipeline, declarative pipeline. And there is one more condition. If you want, or like post build, you want to do something, you can specify here post block. That should be the outside of this pipeline block. But in single declarative pipeline, you can have only one pipeline block. You cannot have multiple pipeline block. As we discussed in scripted pipeline, we can have n number of nodes. Here we have a concept of pipeline. So you have to execute each and everything under this particular block itself. So let's see in demo. So what I have done, I have checked in this particular file in the GitHub. So if I'll go to my GitHub repositories, so I have already added the same code here. So this file particularly, this file we are going to fetch with the help of Jenkins job. So I'll go back to my pipeline, declarative pipeline, configure. So I'll add here this GitHub URL. So I'll just copy the path, URL. Credential, I will use my GitHub credential. Branch, I have here main branch. So I'll just rename it. Next is script path. So the file name we have declarative pipeline. And apply and save. So when you execute this declarative pipeline first time, it will fail because we have defined this parameter db name and db server. So first time when you run it, it will not fetch, like it will not get to know, okay, these values like we have to use in the pipeline. So next time you have to rerun the pipeline. This is the first time whenever you create any declarative pipeline job and you pass the parameters, it got failed. We will see. So now I'll do, I'll run it. So if you can see this build job got failed. Why? If I'll go down, you can see cannot validate argument on parameters database. So basically it's not recognizing this particular DB name because it's a runtime parameter. So if I'll rerun this particular state, if I'll click here restart from stage and I'll run it again and I'll go to console output. So now you can see it's start fetching the data. Now job is success. So whenever you create a declarative pipeline and you use a runtime parameters, first time your job will get failed. Second time it starts succeeding because of the parameters. First time it's not able to basically fetch the parameters. If I'll go back to my pipeline configuration, now you can see it's discard old build, which we have defined in options. So in the scripted pipeline we use properties, and in declarative we have options. So it got selected. Now if I'll go to my parameters, so it's runtime parameters. So you can override these parameters if you want. So that's how basically Jenkins declarative pipeline work. So if you can see here, first what it is doing, it is check out your code on this particular workspace. Then it is start executing the stages. So here we have two stages, category name and employee name. It could be build, deploy, release. So as per your need, you can rename or you can add these stages and number of stages under the pipeline block. So that's all for today. Thank you so much. What I will do, I'll add this particular repository URL in the description box, so you can go and check out this code for your testing purpose. If you have to validate like how to use basically this declarative pipelines, you can go and see there. I'll add this link in the description box also. So thank you so much. See you in next video.